This video is going to focus on how to make a simple meal. I'm going to be doing it on a grill, but you can do it inside as well, on a pan, cast iron skillet, whatever. It's very easy, and I'm just going to show you some things that I've learned along the way. This is not going to be one of those fancy cooking videos, but it's going to show you some stuff that I think will be helpful. And then I think the end result will be something you'll like. Now, as always, I will start my cooking show with a sip of scotch. Of course, any beverage will do, alcoholic or non-alcoholic. All right, so what we're going to make tonight is we're going to make steak tacos. And what I use for steak in this particular recipe is just like a flat iron steak or a skirt steak or a flank steak. As with a lot of things that I cook, as far as like how you season them, I keep it pretty simple, but with like steak or chicken even, you can do everything with Montreal steak. And I am not sponsored because I have just started this YouTube channel. So I'm just saying this because this is so easy. And you just put this on, it's got everything. And whatever you put it on is gonna taste better. So I essentially just put this right on the steak like this. And I don't know if you can see, I hope you can, because this is the first time I've ever done this kind of video. Be liberal, put it on both sides, and it's just gonna bake right in and give a lot of flavor. So I'm gonna flip these, right? Always good to have paper towels. Paper towels are good, especially when you're outside. You don't have to go back in and get them. All right, so just gonna do this the other side as well. And you can see here how much I'm putting on. It's a pretty hefty amount. It just adds flavor, and you don't have to like measure it. It's pretty basic. All right, so that's Montreal steak sauce. Got your flat iron steak. Okay, I'm gonna let this sit aside. The grill's on. All right, so I've got my steak here. Here's my Blackstone grill. So you can use any kind of grill, but not really for this recipe because I'm gonna be doing vegetables. So having like this cast iron skillet on the grill is awesome. This is heating up. So I usually put on a grill, put it on high, both knobs on high for like 10 minutes to warm up at least, because you want to cook this stuff on a pretty high heat. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a little bit of this cooking oil just on the base of this, just to get it seasoned and to sort of clean off any stuff that I didn't clean off the last time. All right, so what we have here is we've got our soft shell tacos, okay? Got our cilantro. We've got red peppers, yellow pepper. I've already cut a little bit of this, and some onion. Okay, sweet onion, regular white onion, doesn't matter. Got some avocado for later. You don't want to cut those right now because they're going to get kind of browned if you do it too early. I'm going to cut this stuff up later and show you how to do it. Nothing fancy, but just some things. Actually, you don't have to do it the way I do it, but if you have no idea how to cut things, then maybe this is something you want to watch. All right, so I've set up my camera in a fancy way so that you can actually see what I'm doing. So, and it's a little more stable. So I will put this over here so I can see what I'm doing too. All right, so again, here's your red pepper, okay? I'm just gonna cut it in thin slices like this. You can cut off this white if you want, but in the end, and throw it in the trash, but in the end, if you don't, it's not a big deal. All right, so cut this up. You can make it thin strips, you can make it thick, it doesn't matter. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this on the grill with some cooking oil, like vegetable oil. You can use olive oil. Olive oil usually does not handle high heat as well and things can burn easier. So I usually use like a vegetable oil that can handle high heat better. So, okay, so I've got these chopped up. Again, not perfect, doesn't matter. I'm gonna put those in the bowl, and I'm gonna do my yellow pepper now, dropping a lot on the floor. My dogs are gonna love it. All right, so this, at least now I can show you this. So just sort of cut like that. You can cut out white if you want. And again, I wish I had a trash can. Poor planning. All right, and then again, thin strips along the way. I'm opting not to cut the white out, but if that annoys you, or someone that you're serving that annoys them, then by all means, cut out the white. I do want to get rid of these seeds, kick those off to the side, and be very careful when you're filming not to cut your fingers off. Sometimes you don't focus on what you're doing, but clearly I am focused. All right, so I'm just going to chop these up. These are going to go perfectly with the meat. The grill's pretty much ready. I turned it down because I didn't want it to get too hot. But I do want to do the onions. So I'm going to do the onions. Usually I would chop all this stuff out in the up in the kitchen, but I wanted to show you. So onion, okay? There's a lot of ways you can do an onion. What I do is I cut off the sides like this. Okay. Put that in my trash area, which doesn't exist. And then what I do is I cut this way, because then if you put them down like that and you cut that way, you've got little sort of half moons. I just peel this stuff off. Some people are really anal about this kind of stuff. So I will be anal as well. Again, there's a thicker outer layer, and then there's a thinner inner layer. Sort of depends on what you care about. But I took them both off. And see what I mean when I say it's just an easy sort of a half moon cut, and you can just throw it on the grill like that. So, man overboard. And I'm using this knife. This is a chef's knife. I love this thing. I cut everything with this, even like strawberries. It's big, it's easy. Notice how I keep my hands away from the knife. If you have by the way, you should sharpen your knives if you have a sharpener, because if they're dull, that's when they slip, and that's when they slip off and cut your finger off. All right, so I'm throwing that in my bowl down there. I'm going to do my other one. I think this will be that's 2 onions. I'm serving 4 people, and I'll probably have leftovers. So that's 1 onion, and 2 peppers. Could probably do another onion. All this stuff does cook down a little bit, so it gets a little smaller, but I don't know. I think that's enough. All right, so I'm pretty much done with this thing. I have an avocado. So an avocado, do not cut this early because it'll brown. So I'm going to cut this at the end and just put it on after everything's made. All right, let's see. So you can see here I've got I probably could do more peppers, but it's only for 4 people, so that should be good. All right, and I'm now going to show you what I do with the oil. So this is pretty hot. I turn it down, put it back up. You definitely want your grill to be hot. All right, my hands are sticky. So, all right, as you can see, messy workplace, don't care. All right, so just put a little bit of oil. This is going to be, I'm going to probably have this side be the onions and this side be the steak. The steak side is going to be a little bit hotter. And you can just take, as you can see, it's very hot, so it's already cooking up. I usually just take the bottom of the spatula like this, steel spatula, and rub it. Now I'm going to just do this quickly to get some of that gross stuff that was on my grill. Again, you can do this inside, but I'm just showing you a few tips with the grill. All right. Now I'm going to actually throw the steaks on pretty soon because I want to. Now the steaks, these particular steaks, I usually put on for like 6 minutes on one side and like 7 minutes on the other. But again, it's kind of random. Okay, so I'm not going to touch those. I usually like to have a timer with me, but I'm going to do about, let's see, check out my watch, clean my hands again, take a sip of scotch, and all right, so it's 6:32 right now. You can always cook the onions and put them back, take them off the grill, so I'm going to put them on now. Now that I've put the onions on there, take this vegetable oil again, give it a spray, give it a drip, give it a whatever, and just mix it around. Again, this is pretty high heat, so I might turn it down just a little bit. All right, so this is the fun part. You just get to sort of move it around. This is gross. I don't know why this is in here. Let's get rid of that. That can just sit there for a while. Okay, as you can see, I've got this. This is cheddar cheese. I've shredded it, but you can. I also have backup store-bought. People always say, "Oh, you got to do the fresh stuff." Well, you know, sometimes you don't have a lot of time, and this usually it's processed and gross, but pretty much does the job. The real job of this is to stick everything together. I'm going to put it on both sides of the tortilla so everything that goes inside sticks together. This is glue. It's also cheddar cheese, but more importantly, glue. All right, so put that aside for a minute now. I'm not afraid to put a little bit more of this Montreal steak stuff. Just slap it on there. It really doesn't matter. Okay, so, and you can sort of just fiddle with this. That's the fun part of grilling is you can sit here and do this and make it look like you actually know what you're doing. You know, and you got your little you look like a chef with the two whatever these things are called. And, you know, you can't really mess up onions and peppers, right? You can just feel them when they're soft, they're done. You can't mess up steak, though. So it is important. Now, you don't really want to cut into this. When I flip it and when it's done, I kind of just feel it to see, and you should let it sit for at least 5 minutes afterwards, no matter what. And if you start to cut it and you see it's raw, then just put it back on the grill. Not a big deal. But I am going to show you how to do that and definitely cover it for a little while. All right, so we have our onions, we have our peppers, we have our steak. We're going to put avocado on it. We have some cheese to put on it, and of course we have our tortillas. And then the other thing that we're going to put on it at the end is cilantro. Cilantro is good with chicken, but you know what? Cilantro is also good with pretty much everything. So I'm just going to break, and I learned this by watching somebody. So instead of like breaking it all off and like de-stemming it, just take like this and go and twist it. And take this bunch and cut it up. And don't worry about the stems. They're basically the same. Okay? So I'm just going to chop that up. All right. Looks good, doesn't it? Remember, 6:32 was the time. 6:35 right now. We're going to flip that. I can't remember. 5 minutes? 6 minutes? Somewhere around there. All right. Let me get this down so you can see what we're doing here. Okay. So, cilantro. Hope you can see what I'm doing. I'm just cutting this. Okay? And it really doesn't matter. It's just going to get sprinkled on the top at the end. It's just for a little bit of flavor. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to chop it finely. Just do a little. Notice how I hold this like this. This is one thing I learned. You put your chef knife down like this. Put your hand here, and all you got to do is go like that. And you don't cut yourself. And you can do it really fast if you get good at it. But that's pretty much how I cut everything. There you go. A little fancy move there. All right. More of this. I think I might turn this up. It does take a little longer to cook without. This doesn't have a top. So when I grill outside, I usually cover everything. It cooks faster. So I can't really do that with this thing. I didn't buy a top with this. I really should have. So these will take probably longer, which gives me more time to sip my scotch. All right, so this is me grilling. So I'm gonna just, what I'm doing is what I was doing before. I'm just mixing up the stuff. All right, so this is my first video of cooking, and my kids, who are all like in their 20s, said, "Yo, Dad, you should try doing like a YouTube channel with cooking." I'm like, everybody does that. And it's true, everybody does it. There's so many people. And so I was like, no way. My channel is mostly about retired stuff. But I was like, tonight, getting ready to watch the Celtics, Game 7. And I came out to grill. I'm like, I got this new camera, Osmo 3, sweet. And I thought, let me just give it a try. So I'll probably screw up this entire meal trying to do this. But you know what, you really can't. It's kind of a testament to the fact you can't really screw this up. All right, tongs, very important. Okay, I'm in about 6 minutes. I'm gonna just give this a turn. Okay, just flipping it over. These are definitely thick, so might take a while. And again, give a little, these onions and stuff will probably be done like 5 or 10 minutes before the meat is. So I can take it off. I can always put it back on. What I'm gonna do when all this is done, after I slice up the meat, is I'm going to actually take these tortillas. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna slice the steak up. We're gonna take the onions and peppers off the grill. We're gonna put these on the grill on very low heat, and that's where we're gonna build our steak tacos. I'm just gonna build them for everyone. So I'm gonna put cheese down on this, let it melt, and then put the steak, the onions, the peppers, and the cilantro on it. Okay, and then just flip them over, I'll show you. And then put them in the oven and like have like extras. So that will be soon. Cheers. This is a Lagavulin 10-year. I have no idea. Actually, Lamfroeg, Scotland. I don't know. Definitely an acquired taste. I'm starting to acquire it, but I have plenty of trays out here. I'll probably put these onions in the tray, and when I'm ready to cook again, or ready to make the tacos, I'll put them back on to heat them up. I don't know. This is not really, this is kind of for people that like want to know how to cook and never really take the time, and also don't, when the cookers are doing their thing that they see on like Instagram or YouTube, they say a lot of things and they just assume that people understand what they're talking about. So I'm hoping that some of the stuff I said during this sticks. I will say this, I probably don't have enough onions and peppers. What I'm gonna do with this steak is once it sits for 5 minutes, you have to cut it across the grain. So if the steak is like long, like it's like this, the flat iron, I'm gonna cut it this way. I'm not gonna cut a long way across the grain. That, like, apparently when you do that, it's a lot more tender. I do think that picking the steak that you cook is important. Like, it is kind of worth it to like spend a little bit more. I know groceries are ridiculous right now, but like if you get like a top round steak that's like really cheap, or a London broil, it's just like, it's like eating a catcher's mitt. It's like really, really, really chewy, and you kind of want to avoid that. So I'm taking off the onions because they're cooked and putting them in a bowl. Usually I would cover it with aluminum foil, but we're out of aluminum foil, so I'm just gonna put it back on the grill before I want to make the tacos, or the fajitas, steak fajitas. I don't know, are they tacos? Fajitas, whatever. Anyway, the fajitas, when I make them, I'll put these back on and heat them up real quick, and we'll be good. All right, so I have also put this top on top of the steak just to cook it a little bit faster. I'm now gonna flip them. What has it been? Yeah. These are thick, so they're still not ready. And I've got it on high. Even if you overcook this a little bit, it's still pretty tender. Again, if you pick the right meat, it can be a little overcooked. If you pick the wrong meat and you don't cook it perfectly, it's gross. So I think I'm gonna take these off. Normally I would allow this to sit with something on it, but what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna cover it with this bowl. So 5 minutes on that. All right, so all I'm gonna do now is cook on low heat, because I'm just doing the tortillas. So I'm gonna scrape this stuff off while it's hot. You should always, and I forgot last time, you should always scrape your grill right after you use the grill, because it's still hot and it's so much easier to get the stuff off. And then if you wait the next day, you gotta like wait, heat the grill up and scrape it off, and it's just better to do it if you have time before you turn it off. So this is still on, so I'm scraping it. I'm gonna put a little bit more oil, just a little bit, for the tortillas. But first I gotta make sure the steak is cooked. So this is still on low. I'm gonna open up the soft tortillas. I use Mission, but you know what? I really don't. I just use whatever's there. But this is always where I know where this is, so I always use this. These are big. I just realized that. So I'm only gonna put like, make like 4. It's gonna be huge. But when my kids are hungry, they wanna eat. All right, so still sitting. What has this been? God, this has been a while. You know, this outdoor thing does take longer because you don't have a cover. And those are thick steaks. So always be aware of how thick your steaks are. I'm gonna slice these soon and hopefully they're cooked because I don't wanna have to like continue to do this because I've got like 75 minutes of footage here. All right, okay. I might do this more often. So I probably will do it outside. Maybe I'll do it in the kitchen. I do a lot of cooking. I cook every night. I've learned to cook since COVID was sort of like the time when I started cooking more. I watch a lot of Instagram cooking things for recipes, but a lot of times they don't tell you how to like prepare the food, like how to cut the stuff, or they go really fast. And I get it because people just want the quick, like what it looks like in the recipe, and people that cook just want the recipe, which that's what I do. But I think it's important that you actually see something and take your time and watch it and figure out a few things. And I don't know. Hopefully this is helpful. We're back, and I am now going to see if this steak is ready. So you can see lengthwise, I'm going to cut it this way. All right, and you're supposed to do it on a slant too. So, all right, so this looks good on the end. It's always better on the end, so he's cooked more on the end. Look at these juices. It's going to go everywhere. My dogs are going to love this. All right, so this looks like this one's going to be good. So I'm just slicing it with a little bit slanted. When this gets full, I'm going to put it on a tray. And I'll probably chop these up. I probably will chop these up to put them into the fajitas because you don't want to like bite into massive long strips of steak. All right, this is perfectly cooked. This is amazing. If you like it rare, maybe this end right here will probably be close to rare. This is going to be plenty of meat. Oh my gosh. Plenty of meat. All right. All right, my dogs are going to have a field day because I just spilled so much red juice or blood on the ground. They're going to be so psyched. All right, I'm just going to chop up this steak that I have here and put a little bit, tiny bit of oil. This is going to be to brown the tortillas. So you see here, browning the tortilla. Just putting it like that. I'm going to put another one here. Maybe a little bit more. Okay. Okay. Now, very important. Put the cheese down on one side first. Just a little bit for the glue. I don't have a lot of cheese, so I'm going to get to go kind of sparingly with it. All right, I've got my heating these up, so I'm going to put just a little bit of that on the side. Okay. Again, these are going to be big. I'm going to have a lot of steak in these. So I've got maybe do a little bit more. I mean, most of these people in my family are each going to probably have one. Maybe one person will have two. Okay, that's turned off. Put your meat right there. Look at that. It's tremendous. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put more cheese on top and then fold it over. And hopefully this is not getting burned. Okay, yeah. All right, so I've got, look at those are big steaks. And it's damn good. All right, a little bit of cheese on top of that. Again, glue. All right, I'm gonna put a little bit of cilantro. Just a little dab on each of these. Good gives it that, you know, as they say in the cookie, it gives it color. And again, you don't have to put any of this stuff on if you don't want to. All right, so look at that. I mean, come on. Can you see that? Okay, good. So now, essentially, I'm going to have 2 meals right here. Now, I'm going to do some sour cream. So with the avocado, one of the things I like to do is I do sour cream. Where am I going to put these? Yikes. I like to do sour cream with a little bit of sriracha in it, and like just to make it like light red. And then I put a little water in it too to make it a little more drippy, and you just drizzle it on top. So good. And it's not that hot if you don't like hot. A lot of cooking is timing, and like that comes with practice. Like I still am like pretty frantic, and I definitely can't do more than one thing at one time. Like if somebody calls me right now on the phone, I can either not talk on the phone or I can't cook. And my sister called me once and I was like, Kathy, I got to get off. I can't do both. I just don't have the bandwidth. All right, we are almost done. I don't know. Probably don't need to see me eat it, but there's your finished product. That looks good to you. I think it looks pretty darn good. If you look at that, you see inside. Ooh, I mean, that's not a fancy picture like you might see on Instagram, but I think you pretty much know that this is pretty bussin', as my kids would say. Looks pretty bussin'. All right, there you have it. Like and subscribe. This was like a 40-minute video, but I'm gonna probably edit it. So it's probably gonna be like 34. Anyway, thanks for staying if you did. If you didn't, that's fine, but you wouldn't be here, so. I'll do some more of these. My name's Jeff. I do a lot of retirement stuff. My last video was about the Sphere, Fish, the band, Vegas. But anyway, that was fun. We'll see you next time.